Old sports fans will remember people like Eddie Bridges, Henry Grooms.
The Kalamazoo Boxing Academy grew out of a partnership between two men, Henry Hank Grooms and Junior Edward Eddie Bridges.
I'm from Pennsylvania. My father passed when I was 9 years old in the coal mines.
After his father's death, his mother raised him in a shack without windows or indoor plumbing. Despite his meager living situation, Grooms poured his energy into athletics.
I participated in football, was recruited then by Massillon, Ohio. We moved to Massillon, Ohio. After Massillon, I got recruited into service.
Grooms discovered boxing in the military, where he used his talent as a fighter to win himself a leadership position in his unit.
We had a smoker where everybody gathered in one place like an arena. I knocked out the post champion in the second round.
After retiring from the service, Henry moved to Michigan, where he pursued a career in law enforcement. He was the first African-American sheriff deputy in Kalamazoo County.
Henry Grooms was a deputy sheriff of Kalamazoo County Sheriff's Department. He told me he never pulled his gun. He never pulled his revolver out on anybody.
Got a job in security at Fisher Body, General Motors, where I had an opportunity to meet a gentleman named Eddie Bridges, who worked in tool and die.
Junior Edward Bridges was a humble and unassuming man. His friends called him Eddie. Born in a town of 300 people near the Mississippi River, Eddie Bridges moved to Michigan to work in auto manufacturing. He began working at the Fisher Body General Motors plant in Kalamazoo in the 1960s. Eddie had a passion for boxing and a 16-1 record, but a shattered nose led him to retire and become a trainer.
My dad, Eddie Bridges, he was one of the top trainers around. And my dad was a little man. Now, he only weighed 140 pounds. I remember him knocking one guy that was a heavyweight right through the ring. And his trainer looked at him while he was laying there and said, "Well, you're not going to fight pro."
He had a set of rules that he lived by. That man was in shape. So he was a great example for the young guys. Because we said, if this old guy can do it, we can do it.
Some of the boxers, some of the other trainers, some of the others were real bodacious, always telling you how good they were. Well, Eddie was just really quiet. Wasn't a real huggy, lovey type of guy, but you just knew that he respected you. You just knew that he cared about you.
He would always talk about his boxers, not Eddie Bridges. We became very good friends. I then said to him, I'm going to attempt to try to do something in boxing in the city of Kalamazoo, a facility to help youngsters get to a good basic understanding of life so that they would never be incarcerated for any kinds of crime because they would not be committing them. And we discussed joining forces.
Henry and Eddie found great success together, but they didn't always see eye to eye. In the 60s, before the Boxing Academy was established, they developed separate teams that trained at several different locations throughout Kalamazoo.
I went to Lincoln School, started to do the boxing with one boxer, one set of boxing gloves.
There was a little room off to the side, a wrestling room. And so when we go in there and train,
we had no money, had no boxing ring, etc. We had to hold hands to encompass the ring.
And Eddie was training fighters on the side from the KVA.
so I ended up going to Lincoln School on a Friday night, and here this kind of short guy who knew what he was doing. He was about 39 at the time. It was Eddie Bridges, and he was the coach. We'd moved from Lincoln School to the YMCA. I started training under Eddie Bridges, and it was down at the Y.
Yeah, there was probably 20 of us there, so we trained there and then fought eventually in the tournaments in Grand Rapids.
The Y wasn't going to let us box there anymore. They had to use the space for other things. We boxed out in this old barn in Mattawan for probably that whole summer.
It was a great barn. We set up a ring in the big barn. We sparred there. The owner of this great field was so gracious to allow us to use his farm. His name was Jim Block. He was one of the famous
fighting block brothers out of Kalamazoo.
Then we went downtown Kalamazoo to an old vacant retail shop.
We ended up at the Kalamazoo Boxing Academy. We